Welcome to episode 55 of Mad Props. We appreciate you being here. Today we are going to be joined by American soccer player and YouTuber Matt Sheldon of Become Elite. So you definitely want to stick around for that. It's going to be really fun. It was a great interview. I know it. I was there, and you're really going to enjoy that. So definitely stick around. Today is December 22nd. And this is going to be the, quote, holiday episode. I put it in quotes because there's nothing else really going to be mentioned other than it's the holiday episode. So happy holidays to everybody that's listening. We really appreciate you being here, spending some time with us to listen to Mad Props. I have a big announcement coming up for 2024. Big announcement in the Mad Props world. That big announcement is we are going to start going on Mondays. Let me check really quick so I can make sure the date is correct. I should have done that before, but it is. That's what I thought it was. January 1. So starting the new year off, we are going to be releasing on Mondays. Big deal for us. We're going from Friday to Monday. It's still going to be every 2 weeks, but definitely good. I'm very excited for that. I'd rather start off the week with you guys, start off the week with the Mad Props, than do it in the end of the week into the weekend. You can still listen on the weekend, but it gives you a whole week. Maybe you're at work, maybe you're driving. Whatever you're doing, you can listen to Mad Props now. So Mondays, starting January 1st, Mad Props will be coming out, so definitely be on the lookout for that. We'll do a New Year episode. Actually, I already know. Let's give a sneak peek of what it is. That is going to be a review of Mad Props. We're going to go over the year we've had, the guests we've had, what's to come in 2024, maybe some cool things that happened during the year. We've had a lot of really fun guests. We've had a lot of really good episodes this year, so we'll do some of that. We'll talk a little bit about what's gone on this year with Mad Props. And then we're going to talk about what's coming up in 2024. That'll be January 1, so definitely be on the lookout for that. So this is the holiday episode because it's the last one before the Christmas holiday. I have a burning thing that's been on my mind. The 12 Days of Christmas. Classic Christmas carol, right? Classic Christmas song. I don't understand one thing about it. You get 12 items in the 12 Days of Christmas. 6 of the first 7 items are birds. I don't understand that. Why are you getting so many birds or giving? Are you giving or getting? First Day of Christmas, my true love gave to me. So you're getting all these birds. You're taking on these birds. I did the math. 21 birds. You're getting 21 birds in the 12 Days of Christmas. It makes no sense. I don't want that many birds. You get 5 golden rings. That's great. You're going to need to sell those rings to get money to take care of your birds because you now have 21 birds that you're getting from this person, this true love that's giving you a bunch of birds. Doesn't make any sense to me. Had to get that off my mind. If you understand why there's so many birds in 12 Days of Christmas, please let me know because I don't understand why the 12 Days of Christmas has so many birds. Burning question. Should have brought that up in the podcast, but I had to just get it off my mind. It's so frustrating to me. Anyway, thank you guys for listening. Thank you for being a part of this. We really appreciate you being here. Hey, make sure you follow Mad Props on Instagram and Twitter, Mad Props Pod on both. Or on Facebook, you can follow Mad Props as well. So follow Schnabel Studios as well. You can find that anywhere you get your podcast or anywhere you get your social media. And make sure you like and subscribe to this if you're listening, if you're watching, however you're doing it. Make sure you join us that way. All right. No more talking about birds. No more talking about holidays. Hey, happy holidays to everybody that's celebrating. We really appreciate you being here, spending some time with us here at Mad Props, especially if you're listening during the holiday season. We really appreciate you. But let's get to our guest. Let's get to Matt Sheldon. Let's go. It's Mad Props.
What's up, guys? It's Matt Sheldon. Let's start the show.
Matt, thank you for joining the show. Nice to see you. It's great to see you. We haven't talked since I left Hartford, really. We had a couple, chats here and back on text, but nothing really. I'm glad to see you. How are you doing?
Doing great. Yeah, just off season, so just been off season sometimes is even more crazy than season because I went from Hartford training there for a couple weeks over to Portland, Oregon to see my family, down to San Diego to see Mimi's family, up to LA to see her brother, back down to San Diego, then over to Hartford, and then to Florida for a wedding. So it's crazy, but it's nice to see family, relax for a little bit, and then just prepare for the next season.
And in between that training, are you doing your training videos for people that don't know? Become Elite is sitting right here.
Yeah.
He's talking with us. Do you do those training videos in between that?
Yeah. So it's actually works out really well because I always train super early in the morning because now, especially with the daughter and everything too, train super early, film the session, and then I basically am on dad duty the rest of the day while Mimi will usually go and do her interior design meeting with clients. And then when Scarlett's sleeping, I'll edit some videos. So it's a pretty good routine going on, but it's definitely a full no free time.
So how is getting out there feeling right now? You've been 10 years, right? 10 years in the league, something around there. And what is the difference between year one and this year now? Like, how are you feeling? Do you feel rejuvenated? Are you starting to feel it a little bit?
Yeah, I think that I physically I feel like I'm like 23 years old. I feel so good, really good. I felt like I started off really young, working out great, everything was training great, and then I kind of did some things wrong, both workouts, I pushed it a little bit too much in season. I wasn't stretching as much, and then my body kind of like started to deteriorate. And then I figured it out. I knock on wood, but I think I figured it out my body what I need. And then now, from like 27 on, I feel like I've really done a really good job of maintaining and feeling good. So I had a little blip in the middle. I had like 3 surgeries to try to figure out some sports hernias and adductor stuff. But yeah, I feel great. Mentally, it's always, moving around, bouncing around every single year, and uncertainty every single year is tough. But I still love the game, love playing. It's like the dream job still. Even though if the dream job comes with some, there's pros and cons, it's still in my opinion, the best job out there.
And so USL is very much like 1 year contracts. Like we were just talking off air that you're on a 2 year contract, but usually it's 1 year contracts, right? Where like you sign one and then maybe you resign at the end, or you don't really get more than that.
Yeah, it's getting better now with the USLPA. There's been improvements. There's more 2 year, multi-year contracts. But yeah, for 90% of people, probably it's 9 month contracts, 10 month contracts, maybe option years. But the option year is it's the same thing. At the end of the year, the club decides if they want you or not. So it's still you never have like Premier League. Oh, I'm signed for 5 years. They're just like, okay, I'm gonna have a job, gonna get paid for 5 years. I know will I be even if you're gonna be loaned out, it's still some security. It's very rare for players to sign 3 year plus contracts in the USL. So it's on one hand it's great because it's so much fun. I've lived in so many different cities. I've met so many different people, but it's hard as you get older with a family and kids to be like bouncing around every 9 months and trying to figure out a new team, new contract, new job. Because you've switched jobs before. It's a lot goes into it. And to do that, and I've done that. I think I was talking with Mimi about it. The last 10 years of moving around, I think I've moved 12 times in 10 years, which is a lot.
Yeah, I could definitely understand that. And since 2020, I lived in Boston, New York, Spokane, Washington, Connecticut, and now Indianapolis.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
5 times in less than 3 years or something like that. So
And
I could definitely understand the moving
it's
around.
tiring. It's tiring to do that. But like at the same time, you probably really enjoyed your time in a lot of the cities. You met so many different people, but it's not like an easy move, especially with you're in the USL and you're not getting paid millions and millions like NBA players, NFL players, where you're going, oh yeah, I'll just go to one penthouse to the other, or just keep two of them. You're kind of like, oh man, do I have enough money to fund this move from like Charleston up to Hartford? Is it going to work out financially?
And so I know a lot of guys. There's two types when you're doing this, right? There's the guys that like yourself, where you're trying to find a place for your family when you go, and then there are the guys that like have a base. Have you ever thought of like, because you're a West Coast guy,
Mhm.
for people that don't know, went to school in the West Coast, from the West Coast. Have you ever thought of having like a base on the West Coast and then playing wherever you have to, or do you really just want to be that close to your family at all times? I mean, I understand wanting to be that close to your family.
Yeah, we've thought about it, and it's just, I mean, especially now with having a kid, it's there's no way I could do it at all. There's like I'm away from we go on like an away trip. I'm just like this sucks. I can't do this. I can't do this. I need to go back. But we've even thought about having like even a semi base or something where you kind of Airbnb it out for like 10 months. Then in off season we can have like a hub. But then just logistically, just like trying to figure it all out, or like even we're thinking, okay, well if we do that, we'd have to have that for 5 years, and then try to make sense of it. But it's really nice in off season because now with her family and my family just being really cool, allowing us to come back, we kind of do have our bases in like Oregon and San Diego, that we kind of just pop back and forth in between an off season. And now, as I've gotten older as well, instead of signing a 9 month lease or being in team housing, I signed a 12 month lease for wherever I'm at. So in Charleston and Tulsa and then here. That way it's like, okay, I'm living here. I don't have to be like homeless for like 2 months out of the year. and then I can and then if I come back, I can just re-sign the lease. If I don't go, I can end the lease on that 12 months and go somewhere else.
I do want to circle back. So I ran the social media for Hartford. That's how we met. And I've seen the people on social media with you. If you did an Airbnb and you rented it out, I bet you'd get good business. Like rent Matt Sheldon's house, for a night. You'd probably get some good business more
Yeah,
than you
yeah.
think.
Hopefully it'd be good. Hopefully we don't get any weirdos that like want to do anything weird with my pillows or something. But but
Well,
yeah,
you don't leave your pillows there.
yeah,
You leave the
yeah,
guest pillows and put your pillows somewhere else. You don't that would be weird on your part if you're like, those are my pillows that I'm using. So guys, be careful with them. All
yeah.
right.
That would be on me for sure. No, I think honestly it wouldn't be bad. It's just it's always yeah. We've
Someone
talked
has
about
to
it.
be in charge of doing the rentals,
Yeah, it's always
and that's
yeah.
where we'll
It's
get
the
really
moving
tough.
around, and then there's just so much goes into it. But it's not a bad idea if you can sort it out.
Where would you kind of consider your base? Would you consider it more towards Oregon? Would you consider it in California? I know I have to imagine it'd be West Coast because that's where the families live.
Yeah, it's definitely West Coast. Yeah, we've honestly probably split our time 50-50 between the two because I mean I kind of like it's in off season being down in San Diego because like right now the last week it has been 70 degrees and sunny every single day with zero wind, zero chance of rain, just beautiful. So to train, to go to the beach, do whatever, it's like paradise. So I like it just the weather down here a little bit more, but also like my family is all from Portland, so for me it's just split. And Mimi's family is great down here too. They're awesome. So, and I've been coming down. We've had this, like I said, it's our 10th off season now, or ninth off season. So we've done it so many times. It really, both really feel like home for me. It was pretty good.
Yeah, and the PNW is beautiful. I've actually personally never been to California, even though I
Really?
lived also in the West Coast for a couple of years, so I
Mhm.
can't attest to anything California. So I'll just go with everything you say because I trust you. But the PNW is beautiful. I
Yeah.
love the Pacific Northwest, like the nature out there, like
Mhm.
the hiking you can do. That's where I got into snow sports. I was not into any snow sports, although I did weigh a lot more back then, so I didn't want to go on a mountain. But that's where I got into snowboarding and
Yeah.
stuff like that. So moving to somewhere like Indy has been tough because it's flat.
Yeah.
Like there's nowhere to go snow sports. There's barely hills, let alone mountains. So I can understand why you like that side so much more. In San
Yeah.
Diego, I wish we had that weather right now. It
Yeah.
is
The
cold. It's
Pacific
about to start snowing.
the Pacific Northwest is yeah, awesome. It's just it sucks in like Portland, Seattle. It just rains. It's just dark, dreary, cloudy. And that's what kills me. It's like I get the seasonal affective disorder so much in the winter. I hate it. But in the June, July, August, September, I think it's the Portland and Seattle. I think are like the best places on earth. Like it's amazing.
Yeah.
San Diego is like perfect for the rest of it. And then I really, really love living in Charleston. Charleston was amazing. One of my favorite cities I've ever been in.
Why was Charleston so great? Why was it compared? I mean, you're comparing it to Seattle, Portland, and San Diego. So why was it so great?
It was like it was kind of felt like San Diego on the East Coast. Like it was really relaxed. People were so nice, kind of Southern hospitality. You have the amazing beaches with great warm water that was awesome. Then you have the historic downtown and like all the history that comes with Charleston, South Carolina, and then the food and restaurants and stuff to do. There was like I felt like unlimited things to do. So it was beautiful, both on the city was, and then also with the beach and the natural beauty. Then you have all the rivers and the swamps and the like the bayous and all that kind of stuff. It was just like a really cool blend of so many different things there. And it got a little hot in the summers, but 9 months out of the year it was really good weather.
Yeah, that humidity, I'm sure,
That was
didn't feel
tough.
too good in the summer, especially playing. I
Yeah,
mean,
that was tough.
sheesh. Yeah, I bet.
Where's your
So let's
favorite
switch
place
over.
that you've lived?
Oh, where's my I get. Oh, this is great. So
Sorry, I don't know if I can
I
ask
like.
questions.
You can, hey, ask as many. This is the thing. You can ask as many questions you want.
Yeah.
Do people usually ask questions back? Is the question.
Yeah.
No, so I never expect
Yeah,
questions
because
back. I love that.
I've run
Yeah,
the
of course.
podcast before, so I've done both sides. I've been the pure question
Hey,
guy, pure answer.
don't worry. That's what I like. I like the conversation. You can tell the people that have done the podcast a lot or done stuff like that, and the people that are just like, "Oh, this is my first podcast. Let's see how it goes." I knew you knew what you were
Yeah,
doing and
I've
stuff
probably
like
done
that.
like a
Just trying to
hundred or
break
two
the ice.
hundred of these.
So my favorite places, I love New York.
Mhm.
It's where I was born and raised, so I do love New York. I don't know if I'd name it number one, but it'd be close to it just because I love it so much. I really loved Spokane, Washington.
Mhm.
there's obviously has its problems. Like the homeless problem in the Pacific Northwest is tough,
It's
and
really tough.
that was something that could be really bad. But I do love the nature. Like I said, I love the outdoors. That's where I got into snowboarding. The basketball in Spokane, Washington was great.
Mhm.
Like anywhere you went, you walked to a court. Obviously, Gonzaga being there, that's where I really got into basketball as well. So that definitely sits high with me. And I guess Boston would be up there too. I had a lot of fun in Boston, but that was in my early 20s when I was in Boston.
Mhm.
So you can have a lot of fun in your early 20s living right in the center. I was on Boston College's
Yeah.
campus, so like it was a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun in Boston, so
Wow.
that's definitely up there. I would say maybe Spokane or Boston are towards the top, and then New York's right there as
Mhm.
well.
Boston's
So
cool.
those are my.
I really like,
Boston's a great city. It
especially
is a great city.
if you like sports too. Like that's a, and obviously you like sports.
Huge.
Like so, it's
Yeah,
so many
I'm a
things to
big
do.
sports guy.
Mhm.
I'm a big sports guy. Big sports guy over here. I mean, when I was there, it helps. When I was there, I was working, and it was low end, but I was working for the Red Sox,
Mhm.
and I was actually talking to somebody about this the other day. Like they gave us food when we would work game days, so I would go into the cafeteria. It was crazy. Like I've never really been someone to be starstruck. Like I do stuff like this with a lot of different people. I mean, I've had Disney creators on this, and I've had singers and all this stuff. I don't know. I could just talk to people, but I did get starstruck one time in my life. I was walking out of the cafeteria at Fenway Park,
Mhm.
and I turned the corner and I bumped into John Sterling, who is the Yankees radio broadcaster. And I've been listening to him since I was a kid,
Yeah.
huge Yankees fan. Like since I was a little kid, I've been listening to him. And I had no idea what to say. I just looked and like, dude, that's John Sterling. Like I've listened to him since the 90s.
Yeah.
Like the Yankees win. Like that's him. This is the guy. And I couldn't get a word out.
Yeah.
I could not get a word out. He's like, oh, excuse me. And he walks on. I'm like, dude, that was awesome. He just he just announced what's going on.
He just announced his
Uh,
life. That's funny.
He just announced life in front of us. But what I used to do is I used to like get my dinner from them, and then I would go out. I'd go down by the Penske pole. I don't know if you're familiar with Fenway. That's the right field, like the little cubby there. I would go out there. I would put my food right on the wall there because no one's in yet. The Red Sox are taking batting practice. Or maybe it was the away team. One of the teams taking batting practice. I'm sitting out there, and the like away team relievers that are on the 40-man roster but aren't really a part of the team yet. They'll be out there catching fly balls. I'll be chatting with them or the bullpen catcher and eating and watching batting practice. And in a completely empty Fenway Park,
Wow.
like there's never going to be another. I don't care what I do with my life. There will never be another experience of sitting in Fenway Park, watching batting practice, talking to the bullpen catcher, and eating dinner with no one else there. The sun setting in the background. Like there's just nothing can ever do that. I have thousands of pictures on my computer of just these moments, and nothing will ever do that again. So the pay wasn't great. It was a low end job, but it gave me moments. I had moments like that, like almost routinely, to
That's
the point where
awesome.
you think it would get like repetitive, and you're like, oh, whatever. But it never did to me. I'm like, dude, this is Fenway Park I'm sitting in right now. Like there's no one here. I'm sitting in empty Fenway Park watching Mookie Betts take one over the monster in batting practice. Like this is amazing.
Yeah,
So
that's awesome. That's really cool.
that's why Boston also get. And then I was watched the Patriots beat the Falcons in a bar filled with Patriots fans, and there was like a party for a full 24 hours. Like there was stuff like that happened too. Like I'm sure now it's a little different because all the teams stink except for the Celtics. So it might be a little different in Sports City now.
Yeah.
They were all pretty good back then. It was fun to be a part of.
Yeah,
it,
that's
but,
cool.
Yeah,
That's
why Boston would
what
be
a-
up there for me.
What experience. I mean, that's like you said, that's something you'll remember for the rest of your life. That's awesome.
Yeah. That's why I like stuff like this. Like I've had some cool experiences. I feel like I talk about it now. Like I'm building my back here to all the different people that come on and stuff like that. Like this is Darren Nefsey, who created Star versus the Forces of Evil, which is a Disney cartoon. She's only the second Disney show creator ever
Oh wow.
in Disney history, and she sent me this. This is like this strip that started it all. It's obviously not the real one, but it's like a copy of it. She signed it and sent it out. My favorite one is the card right behind me. He sang the Pokemon theme song and sent me a card.
Oh, wow.
And his name's Jason Page. He's the man. I love Jason Page. But now I'm starting to build the back of like guests that come on. They send stuff. I put it up here and makes it a nice little background and stuff like that. And you get to have experiences like that. Like
Yeah.
I got to meet Jason Page at a Comic-Con like a couple months later because he just happened to be in Connecticut like after our interview. So I was like, oh, sweet. I'll go say hi. And that's Scott Koblish drew the Deadpool comics. That's me and my girlfriend Mary drawn as Deadpool by the guy that draws Deadpool. Like that's so cool.
That's really cool. Yeah.
That's crazy to me.
That's
But,
awesome.
yeah. So experiences. I'm sure you have some of your own. You're the guest if you want to share some of your own.
I mean, I'm trying to think of like the coolest experience that I'd say the coolest experience that I was like starstruck would be when I played against Kaká. And he was at Orlando City MLS. It was a preseason game. We didn't even know if he was going to play, but that's a player that like you watched him as like a kid, and he was like Ballon d'Or winner. Like this guy is one of the best in the world. Same thing, and you're out there, and like you're like I was like marking him and like touching him, like oh my god, like this is Kaká, like this is so cool. But then at the same time, you're like competing against him, so you can't put him on too much of a pedestal. But same thing, like that's something that I was like in that moment, like I remember looking at it and thinking about like this is one of the coolest moments that no matter what I do with my professional career, where I play, like nobody can ever take this moment away from me, which was amazing.
Yeah, and you'll get a picture afterwards. You're like, this is something I'll always remember. Like I'm key. This is in my memory. It's funny you say that you can't put him on a pedestal. I think that's why you have those. You have so much one way or the other with LeBron James in basketball. There was the Houston head coach, the former Celtics head coach, was like yelling at him, going back and forth. Got technical kicked out of the game because of stuff he was saying to LeBron, not suitable for work. And people are like, what is he doing? He's the head coach. And I think what he's trying to do is Houston's a young team. They can't be intimidated because you've watched LeBron James for 20 years. Like, you can't put him up like, oh, it's LeBron. Go ahead. Go dunk to the basket. Like,
Exactly.
you got to be tough with them. So it's funny you say that because I feel like that's like a big topic right now in sports because of that interaction is like, do you get tough with them like Dylan Brooks in the playoffs being a bozo and acting like he's better than him and then getting scored on, or do you like kind of give him his respect because it's someone great, it's someone that's been
Yeah.
doing it for a long time?
Yeah, I think you
I
can.
guess that's what.
I was gonna say, I think you can respect them and still compete. Like I think even competing really hard and treating them like another player is how you show them respect. And obviously, you don't
Yeah.
like. I think if you go over, you can go overboard both ways. But I think the best thing you can do is treat them like any other player, and then afterwards be like, "Hey, I've been watching you since I was 17. You're one of my favorite players." But that's how I always approached it. Because if you go too light, then they're not going to respect you if they just see you just
Yeah.
being a little wuss out there on the field.
Yeah, yeah, that's such a cool moment. Though I wish I had a moment where it's like, dude, I'm playing against XYZ.
Yeah.
It's when I was at Gonzaga, sometimes the players, I've only gotten to do this once, but sometimes during noon ball, it was called, we'd have players come in, and I've been told like Drew Timmy's come in. I was never there for that, and Julian Strother, like guys in the NBA now. When I was there one time, we had all the bench players come, and now he's a starter now. But Ben Gregg came in, I had to guard him, which was hilarious because he's like 6'9". I'm barely 6'1", but like that's like the closest I've ever gotten to something like that because I stopped being an athlete in high school. I didn't continue being an athlete after high school. But that's awesome.
Yeah.
But let's talk about your podcast and your become elite and stuff like that. You don't really have to talk about how it started because there's plenty of things you can find on how it started. But like, how do you continue it going during the season? It's got to be tough. Like, getting videos out there every single day and getting podcasts up. And we've talked before off air, and you've told me like you do it all yourself. So tell us a little bit how you do that, like in season.
Yeah, yeah. In season, it's for me, it's really about getting creative with like my content because obviously, if I'm training with a professional team, and you've seen our trainings and how hard we train every single week, I don't want to say impossible, but I think it's risky to then after a full professional team training session, team lift, to then go back out later in that day, film something, train my own whatever, especially if I'm playing games on the weekend. And I think I did that when I was too young, and that's what kind of led to overtraining and injuries. So in season, it's very I do like sit down videos where I talk about where I think the MLS and the USL Championship would fall in the English pyramid. I do like talking about stuff. I'm like trying to find video topics that I can do sitting down that I don't have to actually go out to the field and exert physical energy. I do game analysis videos. I do vlogs where I just show the training. So that way it's been a really good balance of it's no extra physical effort during the week, but yet I'm still working in the like the grind of editing and all that kind of stuff, but it's like a mental thing there. And so I can balance it. And I always tell myself too, if there's ever any week where I feel overwhelmed, I make it like clear that I'm a professional footballer first. That is my priority. And then I'm a YouTuber second. So if anytime I feel like, oh, I'm tired, I don't stay up and push my bedtime in order to get out a video, I'm like, nope, edit tomorrow. And I don't have to like And same thing, I don't push or change up my diet or change up, do something stupid that could hurt me because I've made it very clear that professional football is way more important to me than my YouTube, for until I retire. And then obviously that might switch. Mhm. Yeah, yeah, no, it's funny. I actually the my income switched where I was making more money from YouTube and social media and Become Elite in general of program sales, Zoom calls, YouTube ad revenue, brand sponsorships. That swapped to being my main source of income, I think in 2020 or 2019 when I was with Tulsa. And it was a really weird moment where I kind of thought about that. I'm like, well, if I go full into this, could I even exponentially grow that as well? And one thing I thought about was I think that a lot of my success and I think a lot of the people that follow me, obviously is because I'm a pro, and I kind of have that in my head of like I have all of that YouTube and all that stuff because of my professional career. And so if I stop the professional career, maybe I lose some of that. I think that I can keep on doing it when I do retire, but I know that I want to exhaust my playing career before I go onto YouTube. So for me, even like, yeah, over the last 5 years, maybe I've lost money on YouTube because it's been the secondary thing in my life. But like I think that it's smarter in the long term to have the best professional career I can, and then once I'm done, hopefully easily transition it to being a full-time YouTuber, coach, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I've had other people on that have had a lot of success on social media, whether it be TikTok or Instagram or YouTube, and that's a lot of them. They're like, yeah, there was a time where I was a data analyst
Mm-hmm.
and my the salary swapped, but they're like, but you never know until you really know that YouTube is going to be that income for
Mm-hmm.
a while. You don't want to give up anything else. Like you give up your career and then YouTube goes into the toilet. It's like, what do I do now?
Yeah,
Like now I
yeah,
have to actually go get a real job to make sure I can support everybody. Like so
exactly.
I totally understand that as well. But
Mm-hmm.
it's a nice thing to know, like the more you build it up as you play and the more you get a following and the more you play and people come to it, the more it's going to be reliable once
Mm-hmm.
you're done. Like, you can just make that switch over. And have you been thinking about like what kind of plans you'll do then? Like obviously the training videos can still be done
Mm-hmm.
after that, but like there's other content that you do, like you use some mic'd ups,
Mm-hmm.
you do some training stuff. Like have you thought of like what your content plan would be after all that? Are you going to boost up the content plan? Like are you thinking like have stuff in the back of your mind like, oh, once I have some time I'm going to do this?
Yeah, yeah. I've thought about this a lot, especially because I'm turning 32 this year or this next year in 2024, and I'm not like delusional in the fact of, oh, my career is just getting started. Like I'm a young buck out there. Like I know, I can see the locker room. I see even the lingo in the locker room. Like I'm getting up there in age. I still feel great, but I know that I can see the light at the end of the tunnel, especially in the USL. I'm not making millions and millions of dollars, and um, I definitely think I've had a great career, and I'm super happy about where it's gone. Um, but yeah, I definitely always think about the next step and what's going on. And it's really exciting. I think a lot of players are in the opposite boat where it's more scary because they don't know what they want to do. And I think a lot of them are scared that nothing can fill the joy, the fulfillment you get from playing pro. And I think that's true to an extent. But I'm really excited, and like I think I'll still be fulfilled going into diving into content and doing that. And my vision is to kind of do what I do in the off season where I film my training sessions and workouts, but flip it where it's more of like I run like a group of pros or a group of college guys coming in and kind of flip it instead of my story, flipping it to their story and telling their stories of where they've came from, helping them sign their first pro contract, taking them through training and workouts and mentoring them a little bit, and just showing that whole process of building them up, almost like a kind of an academy sort of thing, but mainly we're focusing on players and helping them get up to the next level, whether that's playing in college, semi-pro, or pro.
Yeah, that'd be an awesome way to do it. Another cool thing, like this is something I've been trying to do with this, like as almost like a spin-off series or whatever, just a YouTube thing. I want to do so when I was in college, when I first got to college, 11, whatever it was, when I first got into college, I was working for a newspaper, and I would interview these baseball players for Florida or for Santa Fe College. Those are the two college baseball teams around there. And they would never like have time because they're always doing something. They're in the cages, they're whatever. And so how I got the interviews off is I would go throw them soft toss, and I would interview them while throwing them soft toss. And something I've always thought of, especially as I got more into basketball, is like doing stuff like that, like training or like playing basketball with somebody while interviewing them. Like you're both mic'd up, you're like playing pickup, but at the same time, the person you're guarding, you're like interviewing. I always thought that'd be such a fun thing. And you can kind of do the same thing with that. Like you're building these people up, going through their careers, but like while you're training with them, you could be asking them questions about their life. You could be asking questions about their football upbringing, like how they got into it, all that stuff. So you kind of get like two things out of it. You're showing them go from this to this, but also like learning more about this person, almost like an outside the box podcast. I don't know. That was I probably shouldn't say the idea out loud, but I've had that idea for 4 years now, and I've never done anything on it.
Yeah,
So.
no, I think that's awesome. I love that. It's kind of like even like Kevin Hart he had like where they're taking an ice bath together and they're interview each other in the ice bath. It kind of like throws you for a loop. I thought the same thing because even like training and the off season vlogs or whatever, some of the best questions, best conversations, best stories I have are from when I'm in between sets of like a shooting exercise or like after 1v1s, we have like a water break. You know, you have some crazy funny stories at a water break just talking real quick. So I was like, oh, that'd be really cool. I thought about that as well. And I think it's like, even if someone did copy it, it's like, oh, it's your own stories, your own podcast. So it'd be different. But it's a good idea. I like that a lot.
I say that like this is the first podcast ever, right? Like,
yeah.
Oh man,
I can't do a podcast.
I can't do a podcast anymore. Someone else has done it.
Yeah, and that's what I think is the best part about social media is that, like, even for me on YouTube, it doesn't matter if somebody films themselves training. And for me, it's like the more the merrier, because it's like I think it's the best thing ever for kids nowadays to be able to go online and see multiple professional soccer players showing their training sessions, showing their workouts, showing their diet. Like I never had that. We never had that. YouTube was just getting started when we were like in middle school or something. So like I think it's social media and building your brand or whatever. It's your brand. Nobody can copy you. They can try, but it's like it's only you. Like no, it doesn't matter. So I think that's the coolest thing in my opinion about YouTube, vlogging, social media, all that kind of stuff.
This is the golden age of that. I mean, there's more player podcasts, there's more player YouTube channels. I mean, there's a former Green Bay quarterback that got cut and now does Madden where he like calls out defenses online. Like he'll be like, oh, this guy's running cover 2 zone blitz. And like, that's exactly what it is. And it's Madden.
Yeah.
Like he sees it in the video game. Like this is the peak of player entertainment and stuff like that, where you're finding out more behind the scenes stuff. You're really learning stuff at the moment it happens, and it's not really news media anymore, right? Like you don't get a week later someone's reporting it on ESPN or in the newspaper, which nobody reads anymore. Like now it's like you could just go on, listen to your podcast and see exactly how your training went.
Yeah.
Or go on and watch the training video and see exactly how that went, exactly how it goes. And really this is the most behind the scenes I think we've ever had.
Yeah, and it's great because it's so unfiltered, but then it comes with problems because it's so unfiltered. I've had some coaches or people be like, be careful. Like, you know, you can't take it back once it's out on the internet. You can try to delete it, but somebody was probably going to download it or something. So it is like, I'm always really, really careful to be myself, but like be the squeaky clean version of myself. Because I throw out stupid jokes all the time in the locker room with friends. But, you know, when you're online, it could be misconstrued or misinterpreted. So that's a big thing I always focus on too.
Oh, I know. I remember our conversation when I did your mic'd up of like, yeah, just make sure you don't get everything.
Yeah, you can't put everything on there, everything.
No, I feel that even when I do this, like, so you were talking about Kevin Hart. There's 2 ways to really get a great interview. There's making someone so comfortable. So like we've known each other, so I don't really have to do so much work where we're talking for 25 minutes before, but there's people that I've never talked to before. They say they want to come on and like they're not comfortable talking to me. Like they don't know who I am. So I'll talk to them for like 25 minutes before we even hit record to get them comfortable. So like when we're starting the conversation, it seems like we've already known each other, or like we're comfortable talking to each other. I do it all the time. But then you have the Kevin Hart way of making someone so uncomfortable that you get the real, and that's that's what cold as balls. That's what his thing is.
Yeah.
That's what it really is. It's like they're so uncomfortable in the ice tank. You can see that the athletes that are still active are usually the most calm and collected because they do this all the time. Like this is nothing new to them. But then you have other people that come in or like former athletes that don't do this anymore. And then it's like, oh my God, like, and then they're answering really like truly. Another great example of this, I don't know if you watch this or not, but it's really a great example of making people uncomfortable in an interview. And if you watch the full interview clips, which are there's some online, the Eric Andre show, which we really got into because we had Hannibal Buress on my radio show years ago. So we would watch and see how it's all done. If you watch the full clips of these people getting uncomfortable and they ask real questions, you get real answers because the set is so uncomfortable. Like there's the stuff you see on TV is just the craziest stuff that happens because the show's like 11 minutes long. But they record interviews for like an hour and a half. Like those 11-minute shows are like an hour and a half recordings. And you can find behind the scenes and like the answers you'll get on some of them are so real because the people are so uncomfortable in the studio that they just want to answer the question and get out of there. So there's really two ways to really get good interviews. The uncomfortable one, which is like that journalism of like, you know, gotcha journalism. Like you're trying to get them to say the wrong thing. And then you got people that are comfortable. Like if you were to say something or if anybody was to say something and say like, and I've had this happen before, they're like, hey, we don't want to put that on there. I'll take it off. Like I'm not trying to get journalism. I just want you to come on and talk and have a good time and discuss things and stuff like that. So those are the best two ways to do it. But that's the Kevin Hart ways. Get them uncomfortable. Get them to say what they're really feeling. And
you ever seen the chick hot stuff with the wings?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
It's like and you're burning up and you're sweating and you're like they're answering questions and you have these celebrities, they're so used to interviews, but they're given the best answers because they're just like so focused on just it's their real self because all their brain process of it's just going straight to not dying from the hot sauce.
Yeah, that's where you get the best answers. I love my favorite interviewer of all time is Conan O'Brien. I'm a huge Conan O'Brien guy. That's like because if I could do this with nothing else, no other job, I would do it in a heartbeat because I love doing this type of stuff. I love talking to people. I love meeting people. So I always would listen. I think Conan O'Brien did the best interviews. If you really watch his interviews, he'll take people that are very shy. I can't remember. He had a director on who was known for being extremely shy. And like the way he opens her up in like less than 10 seconds, just by the questions and the way he answers, like he doesn't answer he asked a question and she was very shy with answering. And then he comes back with something that's like self-deprecating that like makes him seem like the fool, which opens her up more to talk more and like gets her open. Like it's unbelievable how he does it. And that's the kind of approach I like to take. Like, let's get the person comfortable with being on camera because then you're going to get really genuine answers as well because they're comfortable talking to you. Yeah. And especially if they know like, hey, I said something, you can't put that in there. Like, then they're really comfortable because they can say whatever they want. Exactly. Go and say, hey, and I said X, Y, Z. Get that out of there. You can't keep doing that.
That's funny.
Let's so I did some. We got some, this. I've never done this segment before, so we're gonna do some mailbag questions. I looked at some of the questions before to see if there were any good ones. A lot of them are training ones, believe it or not. I don't know if you get those a lot, like training video, dating video ones. So how about this one? This one's from Matthew, and he asked, "What is the best route to resume soccer?" He plays high school level soccer in America without going to college. What would be the best route to do that? USL 1, USL, MLS, and that's all they put. Is there a better route than that?
Yeah, so it really depends on like, my opinion, if you are getting back into it after high school and you really don't want to play in college for whatever reason, maybe, and that's perfectly fine. I think that you should get like one really good season minimum in America where you're a domestic player, good highlight video, and build that, and then you can start to try to play pro in America or abroad, wherever that is. I think a lot of people will not like, they'll finish high school and then they'll be like, okay, I'm going to go pro now. It's a lot harder than a lot of people think, and you can't just go to Spain, show up on someone's doorstep, and sign for a La Liga team or La Liga second team. It's very difficult, and so my opinion is stay in market, stay where you are, go and play semi-pro if you're at the level. If not, play amateur level, build up to the semi-pro level at least, build up a full season, get good highlights, get all that stuff, build a highlight video, and then you can start reaching out to agents, professional teams, whatever that is. But the route, you can go any different direction. It's really more about kind of testing it all out and seeing what opportunity comes back and opens up for you.
There was actually, because we said American soccer, I was going to ask you something, but then we went off and talked about other things, and I just forgot about it.
Mhm.
Did you see that? And this is really topical, so I'm glad we got this. I don't know if this is a video that you're going to do or not, but
Yeah.
I stole it if it is. The MLS is now doing all MLS II teams for the U.S. Open Cup and no MLS teams. What's your opinion on this one? I would love to know.
Uh, I'm gonna try to be politically correct here. Um, I'm gonna say that I don't even know if I can. I think it's an embarrassment for the MLS to do that. Like I think it's the wrong move. I think it's selfish. I think it's not the right direction that U.S. sports in general, U.S. soccer needs to go. They're just mad about, from my understanding, and I have a limited understanding of it. Obviously, I'm not involved in the meetings and everything, but from my understanding, it's a money thing from the TV rights, and it can't all go to MLS, and they're upset about it. But it's just crazy that I didn't even know they could do that. It was just insane. But I'm disappointed as a USL player. One of the best parts of the year is if you advance in the second, third round of the USL or the US Open Cup and you get to play against the MLS team. That's the best thing, to be able to stack yourself up against those players, play against them, compete against them. The best stories are when Sacramento, goes all the way to the finals, I think a couple of years ago. It's like the best part, in my opinion, is being a lower division player, is being able to play against the higher divisions. So I'm disappointed. I don't think it's the right decision, and I think it's kind of selfish money thing that the MLS, I think, is kind of known for doing stuff like that. So I said I was going to be
Yeah.
politically correct, but definitely wasn't.
It's okay, because that's the consensus. I
Yeah.
feel like with everybody, it's like, what are they doing? I mean, even against New England, when Hartford was up there, it
Mhm.
was very competitive, 1-1, like going into the final minutes, to the point where they put in the starter,
Yeah.
like Carlos Heel and stuff, like got
Mhm.
into the game because it was 1-1 and it was very, very competitive going all the way through. And to see them like kind of just bow out like that, it's not even the U.S. Open Cup at that point, because MLS is the highest level, right?
Yeah.
So like taking out the highest level, like what does it really mean then? It's just like
Mhm.
it's like putting a bunch of other. It's like putting, I don't even know what the best comparison is. It's like putting a bunch of other leagues into it that isn't like MLB, NFL, NBA, whatever the lower leagues you want to put with that.
Mhm.
Like it's doing the same thing. So why
Yeah.
would you do that? It makes no sense. It's very dumb. I meant to bring it up earlier when we were talking about
Yeah.
something, I don't remember. But
Yeah, I hope.
I
I
just
mean,
remember because they said America.
I hope they backtrack and go back on that decision. But also wouldn't be surprised if they don't. So again, as a
Yeah.
USL player, I want to have that challenge and that goal of playing against MLS teams. Like that's something that one of the best parts of your job is to play against players that you think are better than you or are better than you or higher level than you. It's challenging yourself. Like that's what all players want to do.
I should know this because we're in the interview, but I don't know off the top of my head. Did you ever consider doing MLS, or were you ever part of a thing or anything like that? Like, what brought you to USL and what kept you in USL?
Yeah. So after college, I was like on the cusp of even making the MLS Combine. I think there was like 250 players that get accepted in the Combine. I was talking to somebody, and I was like on the list. I was like 255 or something, and I don't know how accurate this is. This is a scout that used to scout for the Portland Timbers was telling me this. He was like, "You're right there. If there's injuries or some people calling out sick, if there's enough of them, then you can get that like invitation." So I didn't get into the MLS Combine, and I don't think I should have. Like I wasn't. There's players that were there, had more goals scored, better teams than I was on. I was at UC Davis, like 50th in the country, so it wasn't like I wasn't playing at Clemson or the top school at the time. And then and I had a good career, but it wasn't like standout good. And I think that like I kind of even struggled adapting to the USL level, the USL Championship. So I don't think it was like, oh, I deserved MLS or I should have been there. And then I think as I developed, I was always a late bloomer. Like I didn't really get recruited into college in my first offer or anything until my senior year of high school. And I even went through puberty when I was like 17, 18 years old. So it was super late there. And even for me as my professional career, I felt like I really hit my stride 27, which is crazy late in the professional game. You have players hitting their stride at 17, 18, 19, and I'm hitting my stride at 27. So I was super late with that. And then once you become a 27-year-old player with only USL experience, even if you feel like you can then move up and hold your own at the MLS level, they're looking for the next 17-year-old that's going to play your position. So I get it, I understand how it works. I don't think I was cheated off or cheated over with anything. But I do wish I had that opportunity, that in preseason invite into MLS team, especially when 27, 28, 29, to test myself and see if I could hang at the level.
I think that might be one of the biggest reasons your social media stuff is so successful because
Mm-hmm.
you are in terms with. I'm sure you had those battles back and forth at the time and
Mm-hmm.
stuff like that, right? Like, but you're in terms with how you feel yourself is as a player, and I feel like a lot of players don't necessarily have that. Like, even if they're in USL 1, they're like, I should be MLS. Like, this is something. It's almost like the guy on the corner by the basketball court. It's like, I would have been in the NBA if I didn't blow up my knee.
Yeah.
Like in eighth grade, it's like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. In eighth grade, you knew you were going to be an NBA player. Of course you were.
Yeah.
Like you're so into terms with what you are. It's easier to convey what you're saying because it's you.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like we trust you know what you're talking about because you know yourself. Like
Mm-hmm.
you're so honest with yourself. That's how
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
how I feel with
I
that.
think a lot of people say I get this comment or this email or DM a lot is like they like my videos because it feels more real. Like they'll watch players play in the Prem or La Liga and making millions and millions of dollars, the best facilities. It's not really relatable to their situation. When you hear me, I was on the B team of my club team growing up most of my life. I'm trained at parks. I train at the open fields. I train in a racquetball court. It's relatable in the fact of like, oh, I can achieve what I've achieved. So they see that and be like, oh, that's realistic path. Versus you watch Cristiano Ronaldo and you're like, well, maybe it is realistic, but it's probably not going to be realistic for me.
So that's funny because the Danny here, and I'll take this one because you already answered it. Danny said, I haven't played in a couple years. I'm now 18 trying to go pro. Is that too late? Well, Danny, he just answered your question because he was a late bloomer at 27. And
Hmm.
and he's hitting the stride of his career. So just why not just try to keep going? And even
Hmm.
if you haven't played in a couple years, just train, get ready to go, and show them what you got. Show your skills and get back out there. It's never too late. You
Hmm.
never know when you're going to hit your stride.
Yeah. Yeah. I think too is like, for me, when people are like, oh, is it too late? Like, can I do it? In my opinion, it's like, if you love it, like if you like it, just try. Might as well. Like I like, for example, when I it was 21, 22, I didn't know if I could play pro. I was succeeding at the Division 1 level, succeeding at the USL 2 level, but I didn't know if I could make the jump to the pro game. But I love training, I love working out, I love the lifestyle of being a pro. So I said, okay, I'll just go for until I run out of money, until my parents or family or girlfriend says it's time to wake up and face the real world. I'll just go for it, give it everything I have. And then at the end of the day, we'll see how far I make it. And that's still even my mentality at 31. I think it's very unlikely for me to get an MLS contract, but you never know. There's a 0.01% chance even for me to do it. So I'm just going to push my body, push everything, give everything I have. Once I'm done, I can look back at my career and be like, yeah, I gave it everything. I have no regrets about the work ethic that I did day to day.
I'm going to give one more question from the mailbag here. This is from RN. That's the name that I get. I'm 17 years old. How do you deal with nerves going into a game, especially into a big game coming up?
Yeah, I wish I could remember where I heard this from. I can't remember. I think it was a player that told me this a few years ago or a coach, but it basically said like he described it as butterflies. You have butterflies in your stomach. I'm sure you guys have heard that. But he basically said get them all going in the same direction and that will help you, whatever. So it's like the meaning of that is everybody gets nervous before the games. Like I still get those butterflies before games because it just means I'm excited to play. I'm not scared that I'm going to mess up or scared that I'm going to fail. It's just I like playing in front of a lot of people. I like playing at high stakes. I like playing at this level against this competition. It's exciting. It's fun for me. So that's why I get the butterflies. And it just kind of motivates me to run harder, tackle harder, push myself. And so I try to get all the nervous energy that you have in your stomach just as fuel to work a little bit harder and train and go out there a little bit with more motivation, fuel for fire, or whatever in the game. So I kind of view it as a good thing. If I didn't have butterflies before games, it would almost be like, do I care? Do I care about this at all? Because I don't get butterflies before I play pickup against amateur players in the park because I really don't care about, there's not enough stakes for me. It's not exciting for me to do that. I still like it, but it's not the same as the higher stakes games for me.
That's thank you for everybody that submitted to mailbags. That's all the questions we're going to do there. We have you for a couple more minutes. You're a big reader. What are you reading right now?
Right. I was just talking to my brother-in-law about this. This year, I have read 0 books with Scarlett being
Zero
born.
books?
With Scarlett being born,
That makes sense. That makes sense. That
it's
makes sense.
been
But you,
Antoine Hopeno at Hartford would make fun of me the entire year because I would bring a book with me on these away trips and I would just fall asleep or I wouldn't start it or I'd start a few pages and I'd get distracted with the home life of Scarlett. I'd
that's
forget what
why
I
I said it,
read.
because you always have a book. I assumed you read like 5,000 books at this point.
Usually in years past, if you would have asked me this last year, 2 years, 3 years ago, I felt like I was reading 10 to 15 books a year, which for me was really good. I know a lot of people crush those numbers, but for me, I was really happy with it. But yeah, this year I've been struggling.
All right. So what about last year? What was the last book you read?
The
Like,
the
or your
last
favorite book you read?
the Dune series. I read all 6 Dune books, and then
Oh, nice.
I read the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, Restaurant at the End of the Universe. I read
So are you a big sci-fi?
I love sci-fi, and then I also love like I was reading books like Relentless, books like that are on like it's the book about how not to give a F. That one book that was like
Yeah, yeah,
famous
yeah,
like
yeah.
that. So those are my 2 genres pretty much. It's like self-help, motivation, training, business, and then just sci-fi, fantasy, fiction kind of stuff.
Why do you think those are your two go-to?
I think that like it's kind of like for me, it's like I'm all in or nothing. Like that's kind of like my mentality for whatever it is. So it's like with YouTube, even all in on YouTube, or I'm just completely off. I've been all in for the last 9 years, but I think with that, it's like so even for my books, it's either all in on business, my training, me as an athlete, me as like stuff that's going to help me grow as like financially or whatever, because that's like my job, or I just want to completely escape relax and just read about a sandworm in the desert eating people. Like so that's like the 2 things for me. What are your genres? What do you read?
So
Comic books. I know
outside of
you're big
obviously,
into
yeah,
big,
I'm a big comic book
yeah.
guy, but I do read other books. People would laugh that if you're a multi-listener to this because I've talked about this book for a while because I haven't, just like you, I haven't been able to get to another one. Maybe moving 3 times in 2 years does that to
Yeah.
you. But the last one I read was the Mike Tyson biography,
Okay.
which was fantastic.
Uh-huh.
You could definitely tell the parts that Mike Tyson wrote compared to the ones that his ghostwriter wrote, but it was so good. His life was like, if you want to read about somebody that had just an unbelievable upbringing,
Mhm.
that's the guy to read about. Actually, it's funny because I read that and then a little bit after I finished it, I don't know if you could see it in the background. You might not be able to see it with the thing we have now, but the people will be able to see there's this Mike Tyson picture here. So after I finished it, I was in a mall and they had this silent auction and I saw it and it's like my 2 favorite things combined. Well, one of my favorite things with something I just finished, right?
Mhm.
It's Mike Tyson's Punch Out, which is video games, which is all Nintendo video games. Is
Mhm.
great. Signed by Mike Tyson. And I was on the phone with my mom and I'm like, there's this really cool Mike Tyson framed, signed, authentic like picture here. It's $300. It says it's below value online because it was an auction, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, I kind of want to bid on it. And she's like, honestly, you should just bid on it. And so I bid on it, and nobody else bid on the silent auction because it was at this random mall.
Yeah.
And I won it, and I like so glad I did it because it's amazing. And but it's funny, I found it like it couldn't have been 2 days after I finished the Mike Tyson
Wow.
biography. Like it just happened to be like directly after. But if you want to read something that really is just really good. That Mike Tyson biography is really good. It's so weird. Like I read comic books, right? But I can't read sci-fi books.
Uh-huh.
Is that strange? Like I
Yeah.
can't get anything. I can't get into fiction at all. Like if I
Really?
read a book, it almost has to be about somebody. I don't know why. I just
That's interesting. I
can't
thought
keep
you'd be a
going.
big like sci-fi like reading about like all
You
that
would
because I
think.
know I know what you
You would
like to
think.
to watch and Marvel and all that kind of stuff. It's interesting.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, all you gotta do is look at the background of this. If you're listening, the background has comic books and Pokemon and all that stuff. But yeah, the only sci-fi book, or the last one I should say, not the only, I've gotten through some of them, but the last one I really read, and I was really late to the game. It was only a couple years ago, but I think I read Ready Player One,
Yeah.
and I think that was about 2 years ago. I read that, maybe it could have been longer than that. Man, that could have been 2019. That could have been 5 years ago at this point. It feels like 2019 was 2 years ago,
Yeah.
but it's five. But my friend let me borrow it, and I read that. Yeah, I mean, I read like Joel McHale's biography.
Mhm.
I've read Mike Tyson's. Like I said, I don't know. It's so weird. I can't. I try them, and then I try the ones that get turned into TV shows so I can kind of coincide with them, but I just can never keep going. I
Yeah.
don't know. I have a bad attention span as it is. Like even TV shows, if they're longer than 22 minutes, like I'm done because I can't sit for that long.
Yeah.
I can't sit and focus on a TV that long. I need to be doing something.
That makes sense.
So, yeah, I don't know. I've been trying to get into audiobooks lately. I just listened to one about like who knows what the name of that was. It was about like the big markets and like the big banks like Morgan and Morgan and stuff like that, and like how they try to show like they're in now, like they're I can't think of any of the words, but they're trying to show like they're in with the new culture and the way the new things are moving.
Oh yeah.
But in reality, they're using that culture to boost their own stock.
Yeah.
And it was really good. Like you could tell the way the guy leans, but the best part about it is he would say his opinion on it, and then he would bring someone with the opposing opinion and interview them in the book, so you got both sides.
I like that.
So even if he was really strong on one side, I'll have to look at my audiobooks and I can send it. It was really, really good. It really was. There's a couple parts where it kind of down for a minute, but I tried to start listening to audiobooks when I ran and it just didn't work. But I did listen to that one. Oh, what was that called? I don't remember, but
that's cool.
I'll send that one to you. It was really good.
Yeah, that's so interesting.
People can find you on Become Elite on YouTube. Where else can people find you on social media?
Yeah, I got Instagram, TikTok. That's it. Yeah, but mainly it's YouTube. Mainly YouTube is where I spend like 90% of my effort with everything.
Become Elite on YouTube is where you're going to find all that. Do you like having the post on TikTok, or do you find it like mildly annoying?
I don't like the short form content. I know it's like a necessary evil for me. Like I don't like it. I like, for me, even the media that I consume, it's like always long. Like I love long videos. I like long YouTube videos or whatever. And like TikTok, Instagram Reels stuff, like it pops up and it's addicting. But it's like a 30-second snippet into whatever it is. And then with 30-second snippet, like it's really hard to convey, like even with the opposing opinions of it or whatever you're talking about. And I kind of find that like the comment sections or the whatever it is, it gets a little toxic for me versus a YouTube video. I can sit down.
You don't read the comments.
Yeah, that's hard. It's hard.
You're not supposed to read the comments.
I know. It's easier said than done. But I just like YouTube. I like putting out a long form video, talking about all sides, talking about the opposing opinions of it, and just like being more chill, man. You know?
Yeah. See, there's two things. One, there's a new study that says videos over 1 minute on TikTok are way more successful than videos under 60 seconds or
really?
59 seconds, whatever you would call it. Yeah, and that's a study from last year. Like longer videos are actually the way to go. But the problem is you have to be able to capture them in the beginning somehow. Yeah. So you see a lot of it, like the one I see, it doesn't matter if I was running Hartford's, if I'm running one of these new clients I have with the thing, or if I'm running my own. For some reason, that Pawn Wars always comes up. I've never really been a fan. I don't talk about Pawn Wars. I don't look it up. Yeah. But for some reason, no matter what account I'm on, these 5-minute long, 7-part Pawn Wars videos come up. But they're super successful. Yeah. And a lot of them are. So TikTok is, the longer it is actually doing much better. Well, but if you don't already, you need to get on the YouTube Shorts. Yes. Because with the channel you already have, YouTube Shorts can really do well for you. I mean, for us, we have just like 100 and something subscribers on YouTube, but our latest YouTube short or two ago has like 10,000 views. Wow. Like that's the way to get people going in. And I looked at the analytics and you can now connect videos to it. So like you have the YouTube short and right under the like title, not the title, right under your name, we'll have the video you want to connect with.
So yeah.
Click the video to go to the video that it's based for.
Yeah.
Which has been working for me. I saw a couple of, we've done it for, I think the last 3. I think I did for the person before you was Sophie Crowell. She's a former tennis player. I did it for hers and I saw she went up, had a boost in viewers. Ryan Kelly, who's a big online personality. That's the one that has 10,000. Big boost in viewers on that. I don't remember, but they all had a big boost in viewers because when people see it, they want to see more of it. And you go there. And actually I had someone on one of them comment the timestamp of the clip.
Oh wow,
which was really cool. I was like, oh perfect, I don't even have to go look for it, someone already did it for me. So,
yeah.
So that's the one.
It's funny you said that because I just watched a short. I was on YouTube and a short popped up and it was just said, for more information click right here, and it was like a little red box came. I was like, what? I was confused. I didn't really put 2 and 2 together, But yeah, and then even talking about like, oh, once I'm done once I'm done, because I have such a limited time now, because honestly, the majority of my time's training, being a pro, all that kind of stuff. Once
Yeah.
I'm done, I want to keep the same YouTube content, double down and throw way more Instagram, Reels, Shorts, even more better YouTube videos, better brainstorm, traveling, doing all that kind of stuff. But that's on the back burner until
That's no, it's on the back burner. That's on the bulletin board.
yeah.
You're not connected to it yet. But
Yes,
it's there.
yes,
It's ready
yeah.
to go.
It's still
ready
out
to
there.
go. Yeah, well, that's one of the biggest reasons I wanted to have you on was like we could talk. I can obviously talk social media. I work social media with Hartford. That's how we met, and talk YouTube and stuff like that. And that kind of gets a different perspective of you, right? Like we're not just talking soccer. I can't really do that anyway. Like I can talk about what I saw with you guys, but outside of that, I was kind of an average American of the big three, and that was really it. So that's why I was like, oh, we could talk about things that are outside the soccer realm that I actually have knowledge on. So I can participate in the conversation.
So it's not just one side of me like talking about my favorite players in Europe, and you're like, okay, cool, next question.
Yeah, well, I tried not to have that many soccer questions at all in the beginning because I was like, we'll do the mailbag thing. I looked at some of them like, all right, I see the direction this is going in.
Yeah.
So I'll just wait for those for the end, and then we'll go back to it, and then we'll talk about the social media. But yeah, man, YouTube Shorts. Another person, it's funny, I feel like everybody I'm talking about came on my podcast. If you see how this goes, I just know everybody and just tell them to come on. But Zach, who is the director of social media for the Pirates, he's actually the one. I met him when I first started working with Hartford, and I asked for advice because I was still kind of new in the social media game. And he was like, "Man, jump on YouTube Shorts. Jump on them now. Like that's what it does better than TikTok because like YouTube, you have the long form. It's what he said. YouTube Shorts and YouTube. He's like, you have the long form. You have the short form. You have posts that you can make. Like you could do quizzes, you could do photos, you can basically make a social feed with it. He's like, you can do everything you can do on the other three platforms right there on YouTube, and you can build your entire following right there on YouTube. And that's when I started getting into it, started seeing the results, and then I started doing it, like I said, for my own. And we have a video with 7,000, 10,000, 5,000, and we don't have a huge following yet. We're still building our YouTube, so like it's crazy to see how well Shorts does.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So
yeah, I know I gotta hop
with
on
your
it.
channel. That's it. We'll help each other out.
Yeah.
I'll help you get the YouTube Shorts going and stuff like that. But I don't want to waste any more of your time. Thank you so much for coming on. Thank you for talking all the stuff we talked about. It was great.
Yeah, no, thank you so much for having me, Chris. It's great to see you again. I mean, like we said, saw you pretty much multiple times a week for a full year, and then that's just how it works in
then
pro
poof,
sports.
gone.
Yeah, poof. All right, see you. Best of luck.
Thank you, Matt, so much for being here. Thank you all for listening. If you haven't already, hey, like and subscribe to the channel. Like them, subscribe to the podcast. We really appreciate you being here. The more that you support us, we can support you with different videos and different things that we're able to do. So definitely, we appreciate you being here. Thank you, Matt, so much. You can find him at Become Elite on YouTube or Matt Sheldon 13 on Twitter or 23 on Instagram. I think I got all that right. I should have it written down right in front of me. But you can definitely find him on all those things. Just look up Matt Sheldon. You'll find him. He's the man. You're going to want to follow his stuff if you don't already. Hey, you can follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at MadPropsPod. You can find us on all of that. You can also follow Schnabel Studios if you want more of like sketching up, if you want more of Southern hospitality. Go follow Schnabel Studios on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, LinkedIn, YouTube, whatever. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. We're getting a lot of fun videos out there. Comics and Courts has started. We missed a date, but we're going to have another one. It's already ready to go. So another one will be coming out soon. Comics and Courts is where we promote a comic book shop. We promote a basketball court in a certain area. I'm not going to spoil which one this one is because it's only a minute long. It's part of the whole thing. But go back and watch the first one if you want. You can see what Comics and Courts is all about. Make sure you follow us on social media, and maybe you can see who the next guest is, and you can submit your questions there. All right, that's enough rambling. We really appreciate you being here. Thank you so much for spending some of your holiday with us. Have a happy holiday. Have a safe holiday. We'll see you in 2024. Remember, we're starting on Mondays. January 1 will be the next episode, so be on the lookout. Hey, hit the little bell, and you won't even have to worry about it. It'll be sent straight to your phone. But thank you guys for joining us. Thank you, Matt, for being here. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you next time. This has been Mad Props.